Can you make it slideshow?
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Sir, it is again showing the next week's.
Okay, now you can go ahead.
Okay, so may I begin?
Yeah.
Okay, so with due permission. Positive thinking is a powerful thinking. If you want happiness, fulfillment, success, and inner peace, start thinking you have the power to achieve those things. Focus on the bright side of life and expect positive results. Honorable Chief Guest of the Day, Dr. Krishna Kumar, respected dignitaries, guests, delegates, and all the participants. A very good evening to one and all present here. I, Bhagyashree, feel privileged to welcome you all to the 44th talk of Intersociety Weekly Webinar Series, jointly organized by IEEE Kerala Section, the Institute of Engineers India Kerala State Center, Computer Society of India Trivandrum Chapter, PMI Kerala Chapter, Internet Society Trivandrum Chapter, Vakkom Moulavi Trust Trivandrum, and IEEE EMBS Kerala Chapter. Starting your own business is always a difficult prospect. You want to make it the best place to work in the world, but that's easier said than done. It is essential to be enlightened with some of the key lessons that we must follow before we build our business. Hence, to share with us the knowledgeable words of the same, we have a eminent speaker of the day, Dr. T I Krishna Kumar. It is an occasion like this where we get opportunities to test our knowledge and understanding. We look forward to get an exposure about what the best of the brains think about this very dynamic topic, startup do's and don'ts. It's time we begin the event. Now I call upon Nesma from IEEE for the welcome speech. Ma'am, please.
Good evening. Am I audible and visible?
Yes, you are, Nesma.
Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I warmly welcome you all to the 44th talk of the weekly Intersociety Weekly Webinar Series. Today, we are extremely delighted to have with us a brilliant man with many accolades. He will be giving us, Dr. Krishna Kumar, and he will be giving us some insights on the topic startup do's and don'ts. On behalf of all those present here, with utmost honor and privilege, I welcome you, sir, to our 44th talk. It is also my privilege to welcome all the dignitaries on and off the dais. I would also like to welcome our MC, Ms. Bhagyashree, and our Zoom master, Ms. Fida Fatima. Last but not the least, I would like to welcome all the attendees. Over to Ms. Akila Gauri Shankar to introduce the speaker. Ma'am.
Thank you, Nesma. Well, it's a great privilege for me to introduce the speaker of the day, Dr. Krishna Kumar T I, who was our past president from PMI Kerala Chapter. He was our president till December end 2020. And I was fortunate enough to have been on the board with him and learn a lot of lessons, leadership lessons, which is great to emulate. For he is a great role model and for all the professionals to emulate, and challenges he readily takes, and he believes that's an opportunity and not a risk. So to introduce further, the best I can say is the recent award of Eric Jennett Project Management Excellence Award. He is the winner of, this is the first Kerala to win this award, globally recognized award from PMI, the Project Management Institute headquartered in USA, and on the fourth in India. And this is a great honor that he could bring to Kerala chapter, though it is honor personally for him, but this is really an achievement for his efforts to he brought for the chapter also. Now, he is a great entrepreneur, and he has actually 2 startups to his credit. That is, he is the founder and CEO of TravelSpoc and also the CEO of One Tech Solutions. In a short span of 2 years, within 2 years of starting the TravelSpoc, he has got great accolades for TravelSpoc. They have become the finalists of Future Innovative Product at GTEx 2019 and was also the semi-finalist of Supernova Challenge of GTEx 2019. He has over 20 plus years of leading portfolios and programs of multi-million dollar values. He is an ex-IBM person and has many accolades from IBM to his credit. And recently, he has been awarded the Best CEO Award from CEO Review. And he has also won the runner-up award from the PMI Best Project of the Year in 2012. He has been in the board of director of PMI Kerala Chapter for the last 10 years and has been a leading international volunteer for the past many years with PMI. And he has, to his credit, more than 20 international articles. To speak about his extracurricular activities, there are many. So due to want of time, I'll just shorten it and then just say he's an expert member of Board of Studies of Business Management in Amrita Vidyapeetham. He is an alumnus of IIM Calcutta and a PhD in management from there. He was the former deputy general manager from IBM. So, and recently you would have heard him speak on the disciplined agile topic. He is a certified disciplined agile instructor and as well a certified disciplined agilist and disciplined agile lean scrum master. That's DASSM to his credit, in addition to the PMP, that a project management professional from PMI Kerala, PMI USA. So I believe this short introduction should be sufficient because everyone will be warmly waiting for his talk on startups. For that's a passionate topic for him, and he can speak. He can give you more insights. So let me hand over the mic to our MC. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. It's time to welcome our chief guest, Dr. T I Krishna Kumar, to enlighten us through his inspiring words. Sir, please.
Thank you so much, Akila, for a wonderful introduction. 1 second, let me share my screen. You made my day with a lot of insights and stories. Okay, 1 second, let me start sharing it. 1 second. Okay, so you can see me, hear me, and you can see the slides, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. So first of all, thank you, Akila, for a very generous introduction. It was you saved around 2 minutes of my time because I have to skip my first slide to introduce myself that you have already taken care of. Thank you so much. And first of all, I would like to thank all the 7 societies who joined together to make such a wonderful event and giving me an opportunity to speak on what I know, right? So today we will be speaking about the startups, the do's and don'ts, what we can do, what we should not, or we will try to avoid, right? So going ahead, this is my introduction. I think you get heard more from Akila regarding that. So let's go forward and identify. And I think the MC has already said that we can actually revalidate some of our thought process, right? How what we understand, everything is right or wrong, everything, right? So can we identify these founders? You can actually put it in the chat window if it is okay for everybody, right? Do you know who is he? Anybody can put it in the chat window, right? If you know the person's name. You all can see, right? Anyone? Who is this guy? Okay, he's Kevin. And you know Instagram, right? Most of you know Instagram. And Instagram, he's the founder of the Instagram. Okay. Do you know who is he? Hey, Fahad, I just saw that from your side now. It is Kevin, yes. And the second one, who is he? Any thoughts? Don't worry, answers can be wrong as well, right? Just shoot. Just shoot the answers. Okay, this is Ben, who is with Pinterest. Okay, right? Then this one, I'm sure most of you know. Who is this guy? Okay, it's Jack Dorsey from Twitter. And who is this guy? He is recently in the news, and you know, he went to one company. He was not being hired, and then later, after that company have to bought his product later for a huge sum. Do you know this guy?
Okay, please go ahead.
It is Jan, right? He's a founder of WhatsApp, right? Okay, he's an Indian now. He'll come to India, right? And this guy is very popular. Whenever we speak about startup in India, we speak about this guy. Yes, it is Sachin. It is Sachin Bansal. Okay. Any thoughts about this guy? I'm sure you people know that. Yes, it's a founder of Uber, right? It is Travis. Okay, we'll go a little more. This guy, many of you have been using the tool which is developed by him, right? His company. He's Reed. It's on LinkedIn, right? He is the founder of LinkedIn. Okay, we are coming to the close, right? So who is this guy? He was all his story was actually like from the rags to the riches. He was broke. He was in a rented apartment where he cannot pay the rent. Then now he's a multi-billionaire. It's Airbnb.
Max Kerber.
Yeah, it's Brian. And finally, this is one of the game. Many of you, this guy found one game which many of you have played many a times, and I was a big fan of that. So it's not PUBG. It's a little older game, but it became such a wonderful game. It's Angry Birds, Peter. So question, right? Can you be the next person who will be one among these people, right? We know that we are seeing a lot of success stories. We know that these people are rich, they are successful, they are having a great lifestyle, things are all good, cool, everything is good. Can you be the next? So question comes, what are the main two characteristics of startups? One, we need to have an innovation, something which is good, innovative, or which is giving value to the customer or solving a problem to the customer, right? And it need to be scaled. That is the second thing. It need to be scaled. It need to grow in an exponential manner. If you can grow the things in an exponential manner, not in a linear fashion, if it is going in an exponential fashion, then you can make that lifestyle or you can make things successful. But many a times what happens is that many startups may not be successful. Looking at the rates, startup business failure rates, 9 out of 10 startups fail because 90% or a little more than that, the startups fail or not reaching the success criteria. And many a times people think that, okay, the success criteria is getting a fund from an angel investor or maybe a venture capitalist which is coming on the way and making good money out of it. No, it is not that. Around 75% of the venture capital backed startups also fail. Right? They cannot actually move to the next level. They will go to a particular level and they will fall. Right? And 2 out of the 10 new business will fail in the first year of operations. That is a proven statistics which is there, and it has been by Startup Geno, Shikhar Ghosh, who is a Harvard Business Review analyst, and from the Bureau of Labor as well. Some of the common causes of startup failure: 34% lack of product market mix, and 22 regarding the marketing problems. So it means that mostly around 56% it is regarding how we are actually assuming how the market will respond to this or how the market will react to it. And maybe we are not able to reach the right target audience during the time. Maybe as a startup entrepreneur, you may be thinking that this is actually the right idea to make things happen. But the market, really, the customer, the end user who is actually using it may not think as this is a right idea, or maybe they're thinking that, okay, this is not the right thing to pursue for them. That may be the reason why mainly that is 56, more than 56% the startups fail. There will be 18% of the time there will be team problems which will be there. The teaming will not happen. Sometimes the team will fight with each other. There will be issues with the co-founders. Many a times when there is a venture capital guy coming in and they will actually fire the founder out. Maybe you heard about the famous story of Steve being fired from Apple, right? So there is a lot of team problems which are coming up. There is a lot of financial problems will be coming up because most of the startups or all the startups, we will be running a race. Always we will be running a race to make sure that we have enough money to have our operations happen or enough money to scale. we have enough money to do the next thing, next level of scaling which is happening, right? So we are always in a race. Only 6% are having technical problems. And the other things are legal and the operational problems are very little, and they can be easily resolved. If we are actually putting a new person in or maybe a new structure in, these things can be easily handled. These technical problems or maybe operational problems or the legal problems, these can be easily tackled. But the main issue why the startups fail, it is because more than 56% or around 56%, it is because of the market gap or the product market gap, or are we not doing the right marketing for our people. So startups always chase for not going out of money, because we will be looking at it. For example, we have many of the great travel startups which are happening before COVID time. Suddenly when the COVID struck, there's an external environment to us, where suddenly COVID struck and everything goes into a different dimension. All the travel startups got heavily affected. Transportation startups got heavily affected, right? And they have to pivot to make sure that they are having enough money to run their operations. Otherwise, they will be out of business. So startups, the key thing is always to get money to make things happen. Right? Some of the key things which these great successful entrepreneurs did to make sure that their startups are successful. One is actually they always keep the customer as the key, and they will be continuously doing follow-up with the customer. They have actually developed the product, vetted with the customer regularly. They will be vetting whether the service or the product is solving the customer problem or not. They are giving focus to the customer. Many times we will say that, okay, the customer can be wrong as well. Yes, very true. But there is, if you are actually taking a larger segment of the customer cannot be wrong. Because maybe if you are taking one or two, or maybe if you are having a very small section of the entire customer base in play, and they are rejecting or they are asking for a different solution, there can be chances that they may be wrong. But if your customer base is huge and you are actually getting it validated with the customer regularly, then customer will always be right, because they will be paying money for you. Right? The second thing which you need to do is that we need to ensure that we have a cash flow and we have revenue which is there. And every product need to have a lot of cash which will flow in through the product. Our bank accounts need to have, we need to be cash rich, and we need to have a revenue. A revenue means it is not, we are speaking about the gross revenue, we are speaking about the net revenue. We have a lot of cash flow which will be coming in after our operations. If we are having net revenue which is positive, it is great. Or maybe we have plans for making the net revenue positive. It is the absolutely brilliant thing which a startup can have. And another important thing is that we need to have a very simple and clear business model. In most of the cases in Harvard Business School and every IIMs, they taught about one business model which is being put forward by a startup called Airbnb. Because whatever they said is that their business model is very simple. Whenever there is a room which is being booked, 10% will go as their revenue. So it is so simple a business model. There is not much of complications. The business model seems to be very simple, and it is like 10%. Many times what startup founders will think is that, okay, we will have multiple streams, we will have 10, 15 layers of business models, we will make money from that, make money from this. Everything is fine, but we need to have a very simple and a clear business model which will help you in making the money. And that only makes an investor friendly for your startup. Otherwise, your startup will not get scaled. Learn and handle the financials. Many a times we may be innovators, we will think great. We will always think that, okay, this is a very wonderful idea. This is super. This idea cannot be replicated, but we will not look into the financial part of it. If we are actually not looking into the financial part of it, we will be a big failure. It is always better you learn as a founder, you learn and handle the financials. If you cannot learn financials, appoint a CFO. If you have money for appointing a CFO, but preferably the first preference is always learn to handle the financial part of it, so that you will have everything, have the financials at your fingertip at any point of time. Aligned with the incubators across the world. You will have Vakkom, we have Techstars, Kerala Startup Mission, which is here. We have 500 startups, 10,000 startups, lot of incubators which are there. If you have a wonderful idea, if you have a great startup which is there, align with this one of these incubator to make things happen. Right? These incubators will help you in getting the right mentors for you, because you as an individual, or maybe as a group of 3 or 4 people, may not be able to get the right mentors or right venture capitalists for your company. So align with the right incubators to make sure that it is being pushed very quickly. Right? Manage the product and your business very professionally. And many times we will think that, okay, we are a startup and we are agile. We can do anything at any point of time. We are flexible. We have a different mindset. We will make things happen. No, it is not like that. You need to have, even though you are following an agile methodology, or you agile, you have a different mindset, everything is perfectly fine, but you need to manage it, your product and business very professionally. Everything should go according to the process. The process can be agile, the process will be iterative, perfectly fine. The process can be iterative, everything is good, but you need to manage it professionally. You need to have focus on your product. Or many again, our startups founders will think that, okay, I have a product now, and now I can think like, okay, I will make a parallel product which is in similar lines. I will put it in different baskets, make things happen. No, it may not work, and because a startup is like your baby, and you need to put a lot of focus in making the things happen. So it is very important to have a great focus as a startup owner to the startup. You need to understand the market well, and you need to make sure that you are constantly interacting with the market and the customers. Many times what the startup founders or the innovators thing is that, because we have constant contacts with a lot of innovators, and they will be actually thinking that, okay, we are coming out with a great product. We will not speak to the market till the product is ready. No, because there will be great people who will be thinking in similar lines across the world. So you need to get the feeling of the market regularly, whether you are going in the right direction or not. If you are not going in the right direction, don't feel ashamed, pivot it. You can pivot it, you can change it, you can stop it at any point of time. It is better to stop it rather than going in a wrong direction and make a huge pain. Do everything that you can make to win the market, right? You need to do campaigns. You need to make sure that you are doing proper PRs, which are there. Your product and your name should be there everywhere. The best thing is always to apply for different awards, go for competitions, and make sure that your product is always there in the market, and the people need to feel that the product is still there. One of the most important thing again is an exit plan. When this is like a tug of war, right? You need to know what is the time you need to surrender, or you need to leave it, right? You can make an exit with a very successful strategy, or we can exit without making much of a pain, right? This is the two exit plans which you can always have. Make sure that you have permutation combinations of this exit plan, so that you will always be prepared to make things happen. Diversity, sorry. So diversity is the key. Diversity didn't mean that we will have different genders. We will have male, female, and a mixed gender there. No, it's not like that. The diversity means diversity in the view of your team members. In the diversity, you if you can attract people into your team from different geographic locations, it is a perfectly uh, better idea to have. You can validate the startup idea better, and you need to have a foster the joy in your team. Right, your team need to have a joyness to work with you. Otherwise, the team will get burned very quickly, and they will lose the vision, and they will be totally out of the whole thing. You need to have a bigger vision about your startup. You should not have to think like, okay, what will happen for the next 15 days, 20 days. No, you need to have a bigger vision about the startup, and you need to clearly communicate with the team that this is the bigger vision, and we are trying to achieve this particular vision in this particular time. And many a times what will happen is that if you are sharing this bigger vision to the team, then automatically the team will actually support you in making the vision going faster and stronger. And your team should be a passionate team. In 3 weeks before, we have a session on passionate team or self-sustained team, which is there. Harikutan was taking the session. So we need to have a team which is very passionate in making the things happen. And the team need to work closely with you to make things happening. So it will be a synergy rather than you alone handling the entire thing. And many startup founders fail to delegate because we feel that okay, we are the only people who can actually make things happen. No, it is not like that. We need to make sure that we will delegate and properly give the team the responsibilities and empower them to make things happen. And we need a proper mentor who can actually guide us, mentor us, and make things happen. And the mentor should be, you need to identify the right mentor, give him a stake or a share to the company if you think that the mentor is going to add value to you, and make sure that they are from the right industry. They should have actually done a similar thing previously, or they really know how things work, or maybe they are a real great influencer from that particular target market that you are looking for. And finally, or maybe the most important thing is that you need to have a perfect pitch, or a pitch perfect you need to do regularly. And the pitch need to be revised very frequently. A pitch is something like we will be speaking to an investor, maybe a customer. You will have different pitches to different people. You have a customer pitch, you have an investor pitch, or maybe you have a stakeholder pitch. And you need to make sure that for all these people, you need to have an 1 minute pitch. We call it as an elevator pitch. It is like somebody who is in an elevator. In the time of an elevator, we will speak and make people curious about the product. You need to have an elevator pitch, or maybe a 3 minute speech where we will get somebody over a coffee, and by completing the coffee, we will make them curious about the entire thing, or maybe a 15-minute speech. So we will have different types of pitches, and that too specifically for an investor. Investor pitches will have more financial data into it. The customer pitches will have more value data into it, like what is the benefit they are going to get. And the stakeholder pitch will have, there is a different stakeholders which will be like what is the benefit the stakeholders will get. So for making a startup which is perfect, you need to plan very well. And if you fail to plan, you are planning to fail, right? So you need to have a proper plan, a business plan which is for at least for 2 to 3 years of time frame, and you need to have a rolling wave plan which is for every month or maybe 15 days. Nowadays we are planning to the detail of every sprint, that is 2 weeks of time frame. So we need to have a very rolling wave plan which will help you in making these things happen, right? And many a times, like we discussed, we will be, as a startup founder, we will not actually go to the customer and check whether are we doing the right project or right data, right? But now the process has been redefined in such a way that we need to go with an MVP kind of a process where we will have a minimum viable product which will be developed, and we will actually share that with the customer so that we will take the feedback from the customer and improve on the same thing again and again. And there will be an MBI, that is minimum business increment, which we will be actually delivering to the customer on regular intervals, so that the customer will always feel happy that they are always getting benefited. They are seeing what exactly the product is. We are not previously the startups were following a method called stealth method, where they will be going hidden and they will come out with a big product at one day, and they call it as a big bang approach. But many times that will not work, because after the entire product will be ready after 2 years, and the entire customer, how they treat the thing, the problems which they were facing previously 2 years before may not be the same now, right? So we will, the best way to approach this is that we will create an MVP, a minimum viable product, and this minimum viable product will be useful for the customer to make the things happen. So I will just show you a quick video about what an MVP is and an MBI is.
When you're using incremental releases to expand or enhance an existing product or service, how do you figure out what each of these releases should include? You use a minimum business increment. It's the smallest releasable chunk of value that makes sense from a business perspective. But that raises an interesting follow-up question. How do you figure out a minimum business increment? You answer a number of questions. Who is it for? Have you developed cases to describe the value? Does it meet your definition of done? What's needed to develop it? What teams will be involved in creating it? Are there any system or application architectural issues that need to be explored? Will you need documentation? Will you need marketing? Minimum business increments are one of the most useful concepts in Agile, perfect for setting your Agile increment.
So you will be creating an MVP, which is actually a very minimum viable product, which is actually a very, very minimum viable product, and which will be useful for the customer. And what we will be doing is that we will be creating, we will be addressing only a problem which the customer is looking for. The perfect example is the Uber example, where we will have an MVP, which is a minimum viable product. The minimum viable product for the Uber is actually like booking a car through an app, right? Or maybe just a simple booking. It may not be even having a payment system which is there. Previously, we were the problem was that there were a lot of people who want to book the cab. They need to call the cab agencies and have to wait for a long time for their response and everything to happen. Now, if there is a minimum viable product, which is maybe an app or maybe a website or anything, which can actually help them in booking a cab, and through the app or through the website, and the cab owner accept it, that is actually the minimum viable product for the Uber. So it will not have all these fancy functionality like we can see where the Uber car is, or we are sharing the security pin, and all those things are the additional features, right? The MVP is actually just the minimum viable product, where there will be somebody who is nearby for if we are booking a cab, and there is a cab driver who is somebody nearby, will accept it and say that, okay, I will come there and he will come and pick you up. That should be the minimum viable product for an Uber. So like that, when you are actually putting a new thing, a new startup, an innovative idea, rather than waiting for the entire thing to complete, you go with an MVP and release it to the market, discuss with the customer, get their feedback, and do increments. Do minimum business increments, which is actually a smallest enhancement, and which will be actually an investment to the revenue, because the minimum viable product is an investment to discovery, and we will not be wasting much of money or time if the customer is not looking for that particular product, right? So the most important thing now is actually having a design thinking concept, right? Design thinking is something which we always, as a product owner or a developer or founder of the company, think from the shoes of the customer and make sure that the customer is having to use a minimum thing to make things happen. So what is the best value which you are actually going to give with the help of the minimum things which is there? That is, we are helping through the use of design thinking, and we will get the best user experience to the people with the help of this design thinking, and we will be giving an MVP, and we will always think customer as the first. Customer is the most important thing, and they are the people who are actually going to give you the revenue, and we will be regularly doing an incremental delivery. That is the most important thing. We will be regularly giving an incremental delivery to the customer, and the delivery will have a business value. We will not speak about some software product or anything. We are speaking only about a business value, which is going to given to the customer. And some of the don'ts which we should not do, that if there is something which is already available, right, don't reinvent the wheel. Use it. Use that particular thing and make the thing happen. Because if it is already available, then what will happen is that it may be a stable product, and we can actually use that particular thing and develop on top of that. And don't wait to develop a full-fledged project like what we already said, right? We should not have to wait for the full-fledged project to happen. It should be an agile and incremental manner. We will develop an MVP, release it to the customer, and regularly deliver incremental value to the customer. And we deliver value to the customer. And don't sell your product too cheap, right? You can actually give the product for free for some time, or maybe you can go for a freemium thing where some of the features will be free and some will be charged. But if you are giving the product too cheap, it is very difficult to change your pricing or the subscription policy after some time. It will be, you cannot increase it that easily. It will be very difficult. It will actually lose many of your customers. Don't assume that the first year of the growth will be achieved in the following year. And because if you are a startup, if you think that, okay, I can be a startup founder and they can be sit comfortable and be there. No, if you are looking into that kind of an attitude, don't come to the startup side. You can go into a regular business side or regular entrepreneurial side, but not to the startup side. And if you are actually trying to think that, okay, the first year growth, we will actually compensate in the next year. Usually what happens is the startups, the growth is not linear. The growth is exponential. So if the first year growth is not that much, then it will affect the entire growth pattern for the next year. So don't wait for everything to settle down. All the dust to settle down to make things happen. Don't do that. And many startup founders think that it is always think we will go for a fundraising from a venture capitalist, and we will go with angel funding, then go with the venture capital and everything. But it is not the right strategy. Always bootstrap the thing, take money from your side, bootstrap it, or maybe from the friends and family. You take the money so that you cannot actually, because if you start fundraising from the very beginning, it will be very strenuous for you, and you may not be able to scale up according to the vision of the venture capitalist. And many times, our Silicon Valley startups or the startups which is in the IT industry, we estimate a huge scale up startup value to the, and say that, okay, this is actually our startup value. And many times we will and the venture capitalists may not be very happy in seeing that kind of a value. So don't do that. And most important thing, don't dilute your share too much so that you will not have any control over your entire startup. So these are some of the don'ts which you try to avoid, right? So I will close this entire thing by putting a small story, which is very, and I'm sure that many of you know that this is a story from Paulo Coelho's the great novel The Alchemist, where there is the shepherd which is there in a garden, and he was actually sleeping. It's in a green meadow. He was sleeping, and he found a dream saying that okay, there is a huge treasure in Egypt, in one of the pyramids of the Egypt, and he woke up and he thought like okay, one of his friends told him that okay, you make that thing happen, then he sold all his things. He sold all his sheep, and he got ready to make that kind of a trip, and he went to different adventures through that. He got a mentor. He got different people. So I'm cutting the story short, and he later, once he reached the Egyptian pyramid, then a robber or a thief who was actually there who tried to rob him, and he was actually telling that I was also seeing about a treasure which is in a green meadow in Spain, which is near a church, which is just near to a church, and it was where he was actually there, right? So the and he went back and take the treasure and live happily. That is what the entire story is. The moral of the story is that you need to make sure that you listen to what the environment says to you, what nature says to you, and you identify where is the opportunity. And many times we will actually look into for the treasure across the world, but the treasure is across you or around you, right? The only thing is that you need to identify, you need to understand it, and you need to have a mentor who is right for you to make these things happen. You need to be you need to take risk to make this treasure happen, because the thief who saw the dream, he didn't want to take the risk and he just left it. But this guy want to take the risk. He traveled across the world from Spain to Egypt. He traveled across and he returned back and make the things happen. And he got a lot of experiences. And the other thing is that whoever you think is right may not be right for you. And you need to have an open mind, and you need to make sure that whatever the lessons you are getting from people, you accept it and come back and enjoy the treasure. That is all from my side for this short presentation. Thank you so much, and hope I can see a lot of great startup entrepreneurs in the coming future. Thank you, and I'm open to questions.
Thank you so much, sir. That was truly a wonderful session. We got to understand and learn a lot from your presentation. Actually, we do have some questions in the chat box to ask you. Can we move on to the Q&A session, please?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Please recommend one best thing. Okay, wait. Is there any book that you recommend for a startup founder or those who like to start a startup?
Okay. Okay. That's a book I always, some of the books which always I think like, okay, this one which we always say is about a lean startup by Eric Ries. You can go to Choose Your Wow, that is Choose Your Way of Working from PMI Project Management Institute by Scott Ambler and Mark Lyons, and $100 startup. You need to take it. These are all very brilliant books. Actually, you can read through it. You will understand how the startups work, and because nowadays there is a lot of things which are happening in the startup space, where there is a lot of lean startup concepts which are happening, and now the discipline Agile has actually changed that concept as well. And the lean startup always speaks about fail fast so that you will not lose much money. And discipline Agile says that it is better to succeed early rather than failing fast, so that they are putting some recommendations for making the success early. So these are some of the books which it's a must read for me. Actually, I gone through this book, and some of these founders at work is a very interesting interview from different startup founders. So these are the things we can definitely go through it, and reading books will surely help you.
Okay, sir. Thank you. So the next question is from Aditya. Please recommend one best thing that a startup founder should have.
Okay, that's a tough question because one best thing when we are always looking at is actually the mindset. Startup mindset, we need to have a startup founder mindset, right? We need to be agile. We need to accept the situation. There will be a lot of changes that will happen at any point of time. Maybe there will be a lot of rejections which will come to you, right? So, and whatever happens, you need to move on. You need to have that particular mindset in play. And if you have that particular mindset, then nothing can stop you. So that is, I think that is the one best thing that you can always have. If you ask me one best thing, it's a mindset.
Okay, sir. So the next question is from Narayanan Nair, sir. Can you can you tell us about the most successful startup entrepreneur so far and his product has achieved international recognition?
Inform in India who is the most successful startup entrepreneur. Okay, there are there are many from, for example, we have Flipkart, we have Sachin and Sachin Bensal and Benny Bensal from Flipkart, but nowadays everything is going back to our Kerala Baiju, right? And he's he's the first entrepreneur to get a lot of venture capital from Facebook. We have a lot of other great venture capital, and he's growing very fast, right? So if you are actually measuring the success from the number of venture capitaling which is happening, yes, Baiju seems to be the person who is considered as the most successful startup from in India now.
Okay, sir. So one of the participants have asked that he has some ideas about making a viable startup. What is the first thing to do? How to go about building it?
Okay. For making a viable startup, right? You need to first make sure that you have your idea is actually innovative, and you need to make sure that your idea is solving a particular problem, right? You're basically a startup should be like it should be resolving a problem. You should not have to go like artificial intelligence or a machine learning or anything which is there, because one of the comments which I remember from one of the mentor is that forget about artificial intelligence, right? You need to have a minimum intelligence to make things happen. So that is the basic thing which we need to do as a startup entrepreneur, and we need to make sure that our idea is viable, and we will make a prototype, a very small MVP kind of a thing, or a minimum viable product, and get it tested with the kind of with the customers that you are looking for. And there is a great, if you are from Kerala, you have a great support system which is there in Kerala called the Kerala Startup Mission, where you can actually get all your ideas verified, validated in different levels. How the scalability of the idea, how the financial success of the idea, everything will be validated by the Startup Mission team and help you in onboarding to the Startup Mission team, or maybe help you in giving with the initial fund to make things happen as well. So if you are having an idea of a viable startup, just take the risk, go for it. But make sure that you consider customers as first, and try to make sure that you make revenue out of the startup. Right? The innovation is great, but revenue is great.
Okay, sir. So the next question is from Ajay. What is a major risk in the startup startup? Is electronics a good domain for startup now? That is within 2 years or so.
Okay. If we can, electronics is always a great domain, and the question is that you take the domain out of the picture and think from a customer perspective, right? And if the customer is thinking that okay, this is actually giving value to you, and it will make a lot of difference, right? And electronics or any domain per se, if get the idea done, make a small MVP, vet it with the customer or a set of customers, and if they are telling good things about it, or maybe they are asking to validate it again and again or pivot it again, then go for it. Sometimes what will happen is that if your idea is easy to replicate, so then you need to do something called a persona. There is a management method called persona, where you can identify 5-6 people who are who you think that which is of the same category of your customer, and act them to enact like the customer, so that they will actually go through it. They will come out with the idea. They will help you in pivoting the idea or reframing the idea. So that is an option which is always there.
Okay, sir. So the next question, please share about some details about technology incubators in India.
Okay, there are a lot of technology incubators in India, and the main one is always NASSCOM's 10,000 startup, and we have a NASSCOM innovation startup as well, which is there in Bangalore. The nearest city is always Bangalore. So we have the NASSCOM's, because if you are looking for from a India perspective, there will be a lot of innovators. Okay, go for IIMs. There are a lot of technology innovators which will be there, who will be supporting IIMs. For example, IIM Calicut is supporting, IIM Bangalore is supporting, IIM Ahmedabad is supporting. So all these technology, they will help you with getting the right fund, or maybe helping with the people who are studying in the IIMs will also help us. So we can go through that. From the government perspective, the best startup thing across India is Kerala Startup Mission, and Telangana Incubation Center is also good. Okay, again, this is all my perspective, so there can be differences.
So the next question is, can you suggest some references for having a good and simple business model?
Okay, always when we are speaking about a good and a simple business model, is always like what I said about the Airbnb, right? They said, okay, whenever there is a booking happen, 10% is our commission. So this is actually a very simple, straightforward. Whenever there is a booking, 10%. This is a very simple, straightforward thing. Uber, when we are looking at it, they are taking a small percentage of the entire thing from the cab driver. It is actually, if the model is simple, which is replicatable and which can be scalable across the world. It should not be like a model which is there, or which is available only in maybe in India, or maybe in some part of India. It may not be considered as a great business model. A business model is something which will have a financial viability, and it will help you in making a net revenue out of the whole thing. Because the entire operation, after making the operations as well, you will get a small profit out of it, right? And the profit need to be clearly defined. And many subscription models are easy, very straightforward business models. That is the reason why many of the Silicon Valley investors are actually behind subscription models, because it is very easy to scale. Fahad, hope I.
Yes, sir. Why is Silicon Valley considered the best, and is it possible that we can create a Silicon Valley in India?
Abhijit, that is a little tricky question, right? So the Silicon Valley is considered best. It is because, okay, it is like asking the question why Oscar is considered the best award in the world, right? It is like our national award, right? It is the same kind of a thing. But here, one of the key things which Silicon Valley provides is that they have a very different mindset, and they are ready to take risk. And there is a lot of angel investors which are there. Angel investors are somebody who will be actually investing on your idea in making the idea fruitful, right? So there are a lot of angel investors are there, and their valuation system is much simpler, and they have a very robust system which has been evolved over many years, right? And India government is also looking for a similar kind of a thing, and they are creating a similar kind of a system. We have something called the fund of funds, right? Where if you are an investor, the government will also put a similar kind of a same quantity of fund to make the investment happen. So these kind of things are already there in India, and we are growing very fast. So the question is that we can compete with Silicon Valley. Yes, we can compete, but the innovation happen in Silicon Valley is of seriously top notch. And when we go there, and we will see a lot of people are daring to make such a kind of attempts. Even though they know that they are taking a huge risk, people are ready to invest on that. And in India, our mindset has not matured enough to reach that. Hopefully, within a year or two, we will reach into, or maybe in 10 years, we'll reach into that. Right.
Okay, sir. Why India is not having high-tech robotic startups like US is all having? What is the main things which is blocking tech startups?
Okay. In India is already having a lot of good robotic startups, right? In Kerala itself, I know Gen Robotics, I know Shastra, and a lot of robotics startups which are already there in Kerala itself. In India, we have a lot of startups which are there. The only thing is that the robotic startups need a lot of funding and a lot of support from different people. Like I already said, right? Our investor system has not been matured enough to take that kind of a risk, which will go for years. Because the robotics, the research and development will take years to make things happen. So ultimately, now the main thing which is happening now is that we will be looking for quick wins, right? In the Indian system, because we are yet to reach to that stage. We are looking for quick wins. I'm sure that we will reach into that system, because our government has actually taken a very conscious effort to put a lot of support to this kind of robotic startups which are of a social in nature, and they are supporting it. The previous time, the state government as well as the central government has actually given a lot of grants, incentives, and support them in taking to the different forums this time. So hopefully this will work.
So the next question is from Dr. S. Venugopal, sir. How do you explain the success of startups like Microsoft, Apple, Flipkart, etc., without engaging the service of professional marketers and finance managers in the first 2-3 years?
Yes, Dr. Venugopal, that is absolutely right. Because as I already said, right, it is around 56% of the startups are actually failing because they do not have a proper marketing system in play, or they are not having a proper system to validate whether their product is a right fit for the market, or they are making they will make a demand in the market during that time. They are fading into that. And the perfect example is actually Apple, where Steve Jobs, as a marketer, he marketed the entire product, and he was able to make such a kind of a brand to make it happen. Like example, Microsoft is also, they have put a lot of money in evangelizing, and they have even the roles of a Microsoft evangelizer to make sure that there is a huge marketing thing happen. Absolutely, the marketing is the most important thing. And even though we have a great session, great products, great vision, everything which is there, if you are not able to make a great marketing thing, our startup will fail. So the key for every success, or every startup is key for the success of every startup is actually the marketing. And usually the marketing, the founder of the startup will be the person who will be doing the marketing. If he is able to make it, that's the great thing that he can actually do.
So the next question is from Dr. N. Panikar, sir. Can you include the thrill and joy you get to make you bold enough to get started?
Okay, can you repeat that question? Sorry.
So he thanked you for the wonderful presentation that you have done. So he has also asked you to include the thrill and joy you get that makes you bold enough to get started with a startup.
Okay, the interesting thing is that I was a forced entrepreneur in many of the thing. I have been into working in the industry for around 20 years, and after some time, right, we will be getting into a situation where either we need to start a startup or do something innovative, or you need to go to some other country and lead that entire country. I was working in an MNC for around 11 years, and they said that, okay, go and manage a country. So I was a little hesitant to that. So I thought, like, okay, let me go and do some innovation. And fortunately, I got a mentor, which was the previous CEO of the Startup Mission, Dr. Saji Gautunath. He was there, and he was actually encouraging me to do the startup. He was a part of the PMI system, so we had a lot of discussions, and he said, okay, why can't you associate with the Kerala Startup Mission and take it forward? So I initially started associating with the Kerala Startup Mission as a mentor. Then within a month, actually the entire plan changed, and I thought like, okay, let's do an startup. So I was basically into, I started my career in travel and travel domain. So then I completed 20 years in IT industry. So I mixed these two things together. Let's try to solve a problem. And that was really interesting. And there were a lot of challenges happened in between. And some of the things because of the short of time, very, very interesting thing happens. Like we never thought that we will get that kind of a visibility in a country like Dubai, where there is a lot of innovation happens. We go to a GITEX where we were like a kid in front of the entire people, and we went there, we made the presentation, and we were like, okay, we became the finalist, then we became the runner-up, and we were like, okay, this is the achievement. And one of the guy who come to me and said, okay, can you sell this startup to me? And this kind of things which make me feel like, okay, this is something good. And in February 2020, then the COVID thing starts, and during the March, we have a huge decline in the revenue. So we had all the team meeting, which we called all the people together, and we said, our revenues are declining, and we all know that there's a serious problem. We are staring into a serious problem, and we are very sure that we'll not be able to make it in next 1 year. So what is your thoughts? And our team has actually come out with, they pivoted the idea. They have actually discussed, they come out with different ideas, and later they entirely changed the entire idea. And after that, we sustained the entire COVID period without, we were not able to fire anybody. We didn't fire anybody, nor we reduce the salary of any person. So we were able to handle it because the team has come out with idea which has actually changed the entire thing. So these are all the moment of joy where we feel like we were so excited. Right?
So moving on to the last question. Hundreds of small industries have failed in Kerala because of the incompetency of the guiding government machinery. Is there any solution for such continuing disasters?
Okay. I think for the government, okay, there are, according to me, right, I may be wrong here, but what I am always thinking is that let government do their role as to govern, and let we be the entrepreneurs or the industrialists, make revenue out of the thing, and understand how the economics work, how the customer is looking for, making the things work, right? If you ask me, I will say that put people from IIMs into many of these government many of these small industries people who understand the business, how to make business happen, and it will turn around for sure. Because we will not basically the person who understand business or who try to make the things different, they will actually try to change the system in such a way that it will help improving the revenue rather than, I mean, ultimately the business grows with the increase in the revenue. That is my understanding, what I learned from my entire life, right? It is ultimately the revenue, how you utilize the revenue and how you increase the revenue. It is all come from, and let's keep government aside, and let's make sure that our industry people, we have a lot of great people with us, and our people have a lot of vision as well, right? So we can actually take them into these positions and make things happen. And the perfect example was KSRTC, where there were a lot of great things happen when great people took over the charge, and we know about Rajamanikam sir and everything, right? A lot of great things happen. So ultimately, that is my thought. So let's leave government aside. Let's, as a group of people, a group of industrialists, group of management people, we can make changes. If there is a chance, we can make changes.
Okay, so there is one more question from Abhijit. How can we select one best idea when there is dozen in mind in the same niche or deep focus according to your experiences, sir?
Okay, if you have a lot of ideas in hand, right? What I will say is that choose the idea which is most passionate to you, which is most nearer to your heart. If you are a founder and if the idea is not passionate to you or close to your heart, you will not be able to sell it. And I'm an entrepreneur. My idea is very passionate to me. I'll go and sell it to anybody. I will go and say that okay, this is the best idea in the world. Right? If you can, so that is the easiest way to identify which is actually the best idea, which we can actually pursue.
Okay, sir. So that was the last question. Thank you, sir, once again. I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to our Honorable Chief Guest for taking your precious time out of his busy schedule to be here. So now let me welcome Ashok Kumar, sir, to propose a vote of thanks. Sir, please.
Yeah. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Good evening from Trivandrum. I'm Ashok Kumar. See, India started its economic transformation way back in 1990s, early 90s, and it's going on in full swing. And the business ecosystem also is adjusting to the changed economic situations. And sooner or later, India is going to be a power to reckon with in the economic scenario. And this has created a large number of middle class people who have sufficient income to dispense with, and their children, the so-called millennials now. Obviously, that being youngsters, they have a lot of ideas, and a lot of people are coming up with a lot of ideas, and these millennials are in a position today to experiment with their professional career and with their life itself by having startups rather than seeking employment in some other companies or other than that. They become job creators today. They can afford to become job creators, and that's what's happening today. A lot of startups are coming up, and I hope today's speech by the expert has given them an insight into those who have a good idea to start with, and idea to have a startup. They have got sufficient insight into the do's and don'ts, and I hope that a lot of Bensals and Byju's will come forward, will be happening, will be made in the coming future. And I'm sure I thank on behalf of all these participants, and on behalf of the organizing team, let me thank Dr. Krishna Kumar for having presented in a comprehensive manner the idea of do's and don'ts about the startup business. Thank you, Dr. Krishna Kumar. And also thank the office bearers of the organizing professional bodies who have been without whose active support and participation, this seminar could not have been, this series of webinars could not have been going on together for the 44th session today. And then thanks are also due to the volunteers on the floor as well as working behind the scene, without whose help and participation, enthusiastic participation, this particular session could not have happened the way it happened today successfully. Thanks to each one of you. And finally, the participants. I know many of you are participating really religiously over all these 44 sessions and shooting questions and understanding the subject, preparing yourself, etc. Thanks to each one of you for your wholehearted participation and support, which is propelling us along, taking us forward with this webinar series. So thank you. Thanks to each one of you. Thank you. Have a good day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Once again, let me thank Krishna Kumar, sir, for sharing with us your valuable ideas and thoughts on this important topic, sir. Thank you so much. As we wind up, let me inform you all about our 45th talk, Blue is for Boys and Pink is for Girls, Leveraging Color and Emotion in Digital Marketing by Dr. Sharath Shashidharan, Associate Professor in Accounting and Information Systems, Schmitter's College of Business, Bowling Green State University, which is scheduled on next Wednesday, 17th of February from 6 to 7 p.m. Hope to see you all next Wednesday. Thus, we have come to the end of today's session. Thank you all. Meeting is now officially dispersed.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks a lot for inviting me.
Thank you, sir. It is a pleasure.